Hey world builders, I'm the world building sage and I'm going to show you how to build the worlds and settings of your dreams for your pen and paper campaigns, for your next book, or just for your own personal enjoyment. How, you might ask? By posing questions fitting the episode's topic and answering them during the span of the video. And by taking you with me to build a setting taking inspirations from history and media. Today we talk about regions to start your campaign, book and world build in. The starting region of any pen and paper campaign, or for any book, is probably the most important bit of world building in any of those. It's about setting the tone of an entire campaign or book, the moods, the vibes, what can be expected of the world. It all begins with this relatively tiny bit of land. It's a first glimpse to hook either reader or players into the plot, ideally making them invested in characters and world. The goal is to create a region that makes players or readers curious, a region that gives them many questions and answers, which in turn will make the players or readers question even more about your world. Perhaps I should call myself the questions and answers sage at this point. Anyways, let's get into it. The questions for this video strongly revolve around the vibes you want to deliver and the themes you want to set with your campaign or story. So recall what the vibes of your world are, what themes you have set for yourself and your setting within your world, and think about the type of campaign or story you want to tell. Question 1 will be a reminder. What are the vibes and aesthetics of your setting and how will you reflect these within your campaign or plot? This question will be asked again and again, so think of it as question 0 that just applies all the time for all the next videos or something. Question 2. The people. What are they like? What culture or cultures do they have? What are the population numbers? What do the people of the region live from? Are they poor or are they rich? There are countless questions you can ask. If you haven't thought about any culture yet, build a baseline for this region you can expand on further in the future. Just add in general vibes and ideas what your culture may be like, and flesh them out when you are getting into the culture proper. Question 3. Flora, fauna, geography, climate. What is the region's geography like? What is the water situation in the region like? What is your region's climate at all? What types of plants grow in your region and what type of animals live there? In real life, cultures form around the material conditions of the regions and areas they find themselves in. When you are world building, you can easily think of a culture first and let the material conditions conveniently fit around your culture. I'm not sure how controversial this is amongst world builders, to be fair, since many really like doing the tectonics first. In my eyes, it's more important to have interesting and fleshed out people and cultures than geography. So do as I say and think about it second. You shall not think about the geography first. Question 4. What are the power structures within your region like? Even within kingdoms and consolidated states, power structures can vary a very lot. So who collects the taxes and who or what demands what to do? Question 5. Anything special, mysterious, magical in the region? Some magical anomalies, ruins or other sites of the past? Or just the normal extent of what your world has to offer on mystery? Question 6. What other interesting places or facts might there be? This is more a catch-it-all question. Just so you don't start thinking that you can't add stuff that isn't asked on the list. Our region is set in a yet unnamed kingdom, on a yet unnamed continent of a yet unnamed world. It's a rustic little place, near the spring of one of the most influential rivers on the continent. The aesthetics and cultural vibes are a mix of the early 19th century Austrian Empire and southern Germany, mixed with many Celto-Germanic and some Slavic influences. Especially the later bit will become more important later. In our hypothetical plot or campaign, the region's mystical elements and the fight against the dangerous wilds would have a strong impact on the region's people and thus the early campaign. The people are more rustic and conservative. They don't really like outsiders, but they don't hate them either. Their relationship is rather heated with the local government they hate, while simultaneously being loyal to the crown, and they love the king and the entire monarchy. Their relative isolation caused by high peaked mountains and dense and dangerous forests. The love-hate relationship with the state is something I pulled from both Imperial Russia and China, where they have the saying, "The heaven is high and the emperor is far away, and God is high and the Tsar is far away while I am near, so bow deeply to me." Both refer to local corruption, almost unheard of by the faraway state authorities. This will be a common theme of the more isolated parts of the kingdom our region is set in. On the other hand, a new influx of people, mostly miners and sawmill workers that found labor opportunities in these mostly untouched areas, bring new ideas from down below, while simultaneously gaining the ire of the rather conservative locals. Their rivalry isn't necessarily a complete break of custom or whatever, or at least the cause of it. The clash being mostly about deep cultural differences. For now, for the first glimpse in our setting, surface culture is more important though, so we'll focus on that and get to deep culture later once we are putting out some cultural videos. The Groms folk are the people of the mountainous parts of the kingdom. They are named after a local deity, a Devos, named Grom. A dwarf who supposedly forged these mountains to protect the people from the dragons and buried the mighty dragon Kyoteros under a lake by breaking in a river out of the mountains, filling his nest with water and drowning him. They are rather poor people living off the land, cowherders and hunters who sell dairy products, mostly cheese and pelts. A few of them become monster hunters who go after bigger game, whose parts get utilized from head to toe. Big festivals attract the entire regions to the villages to celebrate whatever hunt the monster hunters brought in. For these occasions they sacrifice in the name of the hunter and dance and party throughout the night with lots of beer and food. They distill a special kind of liquor, a type of moonshine, so they don't have to pay extra taxes. Their distilleries are said to be hidden away by the fairies since they are never to be found. One of their favorite pastimes is finger pulling, a game and sport where both opponents sit at a table opposite one another and try to pull the opponent towards themselves over the table using one finger. Don't be ashamed to inspire yourself of different cultures that fit your ideas, aesthetics. Don't worry too much on being original. Nothing is original anyway. So you can see that my culture is strongly influenced by Tyroleans and especially the more isolated Scottish clans in the Appalachian Mountains. Like I said while posing the question, the geography will be formed around the culture's needs. The climate is alpine, the winters are cold, the summers get relatively warm. Vast forests cover the connecting alleys and dales between the peaks, while alpine meadows cover the higher ranges of the region, where the herders will bring their cows to. Large stock breeds, which can grow to the size of donkeys, help the herders to protect their herds from the beasts of the wild. Griffins roam the lands, especially during summer, but wolves from varying sizes, large bears, including owlbears, and different woodland predators from the fantastical sort roam the woods. We'll get to those a bit later. The forests are covered in different kind of conifer trees. The ground's littered with needles and the air smelling of tree pitch. If you ever see dense fogs within the woods, don't enter, don't get close, go home. The best way to come up with geography to fit your culture's needs is by drawing a map. Alongside thinking about the geography, you'll start to think about different points of interest during map creation. Power structures. I'll only talk about the ones within the region, keeping everything else in the scopes of Awake Kingdom. Like with the other details you flesh out within your first region, this is an easy template for later. when you are thinking about the bigger scopes of your kingdom. There are 3 humanoid centers of power. On the one hand, the local state government. The region stands under lordship of the king, who is not really interested in the government of some backwater mountainous region. Besides, for the region's historical and prestigious standing, but I'll get to that later. The region is ruled by bureaucrats, headed by a steward, who acts as the governor of our and the neighboring region. Bureaucrats and stewards alike are corrupt. Money, goods, personal favors are what drives them into action. Everything else will take ages, if even done or considered at all. The people cope with cynic sayings like, "The dragons fly high and the king is far away." The king doesn't notice the corruption because he doesn't know of it, because nobody tells him. That's the reasoning of the people, at least. The steward has a seat in the city of Lesburg, which consists of many tanneries, leather workers, fur trimmers, dairies, and magical artisans that move to Lesburg because of the close access to many rarer materials and components. The city of Lesburg's bourgeoisie is the second center of power. They form their own city council in opposition to the steward and enjoy many freedoms the inhabitants outside the city don't have, especially the magical artisans, who are usually of lower noble blood. Lastly, the Kromsfolk clan, sitting in the back of our region. They resist the steward's rule, which is made easier because they are all freemen. By citing ancient laws and agreements that don't apply anymore, they are resisting taxes, hunt on land they aren't normally allowed to, burn liquor and brew beer without licenses, and they use a form of educated magic to empower their monster hunters, the latter being a secret that never spills. There is another power within the region, the dragon Maeldrid, resting in the northwest within a large cave, slumbering. The dragon has minions, a little lizard men, which in normal D&D talk would be kobolds, which are probably called a different way in my world, considering kobolds in Germany, or rather German mythology, as something else. Yeah. They try their best to increase their mistress's hoard by plundering and stealing. They flock through the entire area and raid the towns and people, turning more and more reckless by the time. Their main focus being Hallstatt and the Immertief mines, where they mine our setting's magical resource. A sign that the dragon might wake up soon. I'm a sucker for spice tier magical resources, so I just had to put them in. The wizard Rupert the Blue summoned his tower nearby, so he and his disciples can watch over the dragon's nest with the collaboration of the Kromfolk and the local druid circles. The perfect transition into the magical anomaly topic. There's Theodoric's Rest, a hero's grave guarded by ancient golems, and a fairy named Giselle, who protects the spring of the river Krom and its purity. The entire woods are filled with many creatures, from normal animals to large and monstrous magical beings. At night, many parts of the woods get foggy. A dangerous fog barely anyone who enters returns from. And it's no entrance into the Feywild either. There's something lurking in the fog, something dangerous, which I didn't think of yet, but we'll get there. Lastly, there are the ruins of the Lesburg. I won't hang castle on because that's redundant. The castle got destroyed during a war a few centuries ago, and nobody bothered to rebuild it. Spirits and ghosts still roam the ruins, however. Fractures of the people who died most horribly during the assault. Their spirits get regularly appeased during festivals, but they didn't find a solution on how to pacify them and send them over to the underworld. There are 3 other interesting places which aren't mystical in nature, but man-made. The Wesenhauer Company sawmills, which are built by the Wesenhauer Company, who got extra tax exemptions and property rights from the stewards after they got a hefty donation. There are the Kromsfolk barrows, the barrows of the entire clan where every member gets laid to rest. And there's Moriana's Peak, a partially built palace standing in between two mountain peaks. Its construction was commissioned by the great-grandfather of the current reigning monarch, who wanted a castle in the original heartlands of their noble house, which is actually like 20 kilometers downstream. Only the foundation, a bunch of towers and one castle wing got finished, before construction got indefinitely halted because of budgeting issues, wars, and shifting interests of later monarchs. The castle hanging between the peaks now stands as a reminder of the "dragons fly high and the king is far away" philosophy, as they are a real eyesore. Since I noticed during editing that I didn't have the chance to show the map I've drawn, I'll show it here. I captured the entire procedure to let it run in the background of the video, but it looked weird, so I didn't do it. We'll use this map for later videos when fleshing the region out in more detail. It's not the most beautiful map, especially since I intended it to be a height map, and mountain icons are too small for our scale, at least in this map program I use. Oh, and something else I forgot. The name of our region. It's not very creative, but it fits common naming conventions. Kromspring! Now that's it for today's video. If you got that far, you'll just have to subscribe to get more of my videos. And if you like, write some comments about your original region and their world building, or put some critique. I'm new to making videos, so any tips on how to improve myself is appreciated. See ya!